Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this special live stream. We're going to be speaking about a topic which every Muslim should be aware of. Anybody who is interested in preserving our religion should be involved with. And I'm honored today to be with Brother Abdulhakim Idris. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum assalam, Brother Ahmed. I'm very thankful that you standing with voiceless Muslim, defending their right. You're doing this as a uh, ibadah, first ibadah. Actually, I'm very honored, be in your show. I'm following your work, and we are almost 3 years right now, 4 years almost. We lost contact with our loved one, father, mother, but to have somebody like you, and defending them and working on behalf of them, give us strength and the hope. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you for your very kind words. So, for the viewers, I just want to do a very quick introduction. I'm not going to go into more detail, but I'll post this in the link. Mr. Abdul Hakim Idris was born in Hotan city in East Turkestan. He is educated in Islamic religious studies and Arabic language at the underground Islamic schools madrasas in Hotan before he left in 1986 to study Islam in Al Azhar University. After studying in Cairo, he settled in Germany, and he has actually been a prominent figure in the Uyghur activism. He is the current Inspector General of the World Uyghur Congress. And actually, there's a lot more information about what he's involved in. But I think the most important thing, which I want everybody to realize, is actually that for a long, long time now, I've been looking myself for some resource written academically from an Islamic perspective about the danger of the Chinese Communist Party, not only for our Uyghur brothers and sisters in Chinese occupied East Turkestan, but actually Muslims all across the world. I was really amazed to see that actually this work had already been done. And the author is none other than Brother Abdulhakim Idris himself. So before we get into the book, and speaking about why the Chinese Communist Party is not only a menace to the Uyghur people and the Tibetan people and others, but actually the whole Islamic world, and why East Turkestan fundamentally is Islam's eastern fortress. And if it falls, the entire Muslim world will fall alongside with it. I want to ask you something. On I think it was Bitter Winter, I read an article that you wrote, and you're somebody who's not coming from the perspective of an ivory tower. You're from East Turkestan. Your own family, your own mother, your own relatives are directly impacted. So please tell us a little bit about them before we get into your book, please.
Thank you. It's a very difficult moment, to talk about my own family and knowing what's happening right now in Turkestan. I lost contact with my family uh, more than 4 years right now. Last time I spoke with my mom, my mother was 25th April 2017. From that time until right now, I don't know if they are alive or not. As a Muslim, uh, the life is by Allah. He give us a life, He will take a life, no problem. But if if your loved one is in this world and another world, you can make your peace. That's very difficult for me. It's a personal. I'm involving with this what Chinese Communist Party right now committing as a genocide in East Turkestan. What I'm doing with the girls, boys, elderly, and the thinking, of my own family. It's a very difficult situation. I am one of them. 100,000 Uyghur people, Muslim people, right now living in diaspora with the same drama, tragedy, and we are very depressed. The Chinese Communist government put more than 3 million people in concentration camp in Turkestan, and they spread the fear of another Uyghurs. They don't know when they are going to jail. And in the same time, the Chinese Communist government put us in this free world in diaspora, in the concentration camp with the no hope. We are very depressed, and we try to bring our voice. But as you know, many countries, many people engaging with this issue, but most of another are not seeing it, not hearing it, not want to deal with it. That's the issue. And inshallah, but I'm hoping, uh, if I do my what I can, it's my power, it's my hand. uh, that's my responsibility. uh, I can give my uh, answer to Allah, and I can tell my mom and dad I did my best what I could do it. That's give me a little bit uh, so toast in my conscience. That's give me a little bit hope, brother.
Jazakallah khair. And it's extremely hard to live your life with your relatives in this danger. A friend of mine who I cannot name right now, from London, 10 years ago exactly, he was telling me about the unbearable situation, but there was no news except through him. And him telling me this. And back then, things were terrible. So since 2017, they've gone far worse. Many of your own relatives have been detained. And in fact, your sister-in-law, Dr. Gulshan Abbas, a medical doctor, a reputed academic, was arrested after your wife gave a talk defending the Uyghurs and she went missing. So we're talking about not something that is in the past. We're talking about live right now. These things are happening. So just before we continue, I think I want everybody to notice in the comment section, I'm going to be putting in a book, and I want everybody to download at least the Kindle version. Right now, I don't think the printed version is available in the UK. It is in America. And this is the book, Menace, China's Colonization of the Islamic World and Uyghur Genocide. And this book is something which we should all, on the minimum, read and leave a review and tell our friends and family about this. So let's get straight into this book. What is the main objective of this book? What do you want the Muslim world to realize through the work that you've been putting together?
Yes, as you said, I studied in an underground madrasa in Turkestan, almost 5 years. And my ustaz, my sheikhs, my teacher, were jailed before, and in the Chinese Communist Party's jail, spent there almost 20 years in the jail, learning the Mao Zedong's idea, path at that time. And then when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, and another from the west, from the east, Soviet Union, with the Vietnam get the war with China. China gets scared, and they lifted a little bit to give us a small freedom in Turkestan, 1980s, and then they let uh, brought some imams and the sheikhs from the jail, and we could have build our mosque again, and learn a little bit in underground, and then our religion. They tolerated that because the fear of the Soviet Union and Afghanistan. And from that time on, uh, as Turkestan is, we were people is apart from Islamic world, like a one body at the peace from the Islamic world. That was what I learned in our madrasa. I'm first of all a Muslim, Uyghur, and I share same value with our brother sister in Pakistan, in Egypt, in Iraq, in Turkey, in Morocco, and everywhere, or in Malaysia, Indonesia. We are apart from that. But China kept, China kept isolated us from the another Muslim country. Almost 30 years, from 50s to 80s. Nobody can touch with the another Muslim brother and sister. Even in the Pakistani Muslim, they closed the border between Kashgar and the Pakistan. 30 years, we were like a prison. Still, we were apart from whole Islamic country. And then what's happened in the last 3 years, it's not new. China did genocide before. We are almost 136 years right now under Chinese colonization invasion. First half of those years, we were under Qin Dynasty, Republic of China, and we tried, throughout them, established two republics of East Turkestan republics. And then in 1949, the Chinese Communist Party, or Communist China, with the help from Soviet Union, occupied our country, and they ruled us with the iron fist from that to that. And the Chinese Communist regime committed genocide in 1960s. They killed thousands and millions people, elite from the Uyghur people, business people, academics, teachers. And in the same time, in the 1960s, they used East Turkestan as like a nuclear test area. They tested there more than 40, 50 nuclear tests. Each one is more powerful from the Hiroshima or Nagasaki nuclear test. More than million people where I come from, Hoten, Kashgar, Yakan, those areas died from cancer. Still today, the cancer, people die from cancer is very, very high for this area. And still, we kept, our identity. We never gave up our religion, learning, Islamic religion, tradition, and the values. Those values kept us, as a nation alive. If you are today talking about 1.4 billion Chinese population, and the Chinese official government says, almost 12 or 15 million Muslims in East Turkestan, they can't deal with us. Just put everybody in the jail. That's is the East Turkestan people are very proud people, very religious people. There is a part, from whole Islamic world, when it's something's bad happening in the Islamic world, they identify with them, they praying for them, and still, when this Chinese Communist government conducted this mass scale genocide, and it began 2014 on, and in the 2017 was more and more. And I thought, my duty is one side, I have to fight for my family, my country, my fellow Muslim in East Turkestan, but same time, I have the obligation to warn my fellow Muslim in Islamic world, because this Chinese colonization is you can't see it. That's the problem. Because imagine, China get investment deal with Iran, almost $400 billion. The first article from this agreement is keep those agreement secret from the Iranian Muslim people. Imagine that. That's how they do it. They do the same deal with the government in Pakistan, in Egypt, and everywhere. Normal. My brother and sister on those country doesn't know what's coming to them. And I saw this obligation, and and we were people have this experience. We live this brutality, of CCPs or Chinese government. We saw them they deal with the minority or another people. We are not minority our country. We are own this Turkestan. They occupying our country, and we have this experience lived through, and they paid a lot of price for it, and we have this knowledge, and I want to share this knowledge, my fellow Muslim and the brother and everywhere. And I try to bring this topic. This topic is so big. It's not impossible bring in this book every aspect. But this is a shrine, or say like, look, you should give attention to those areas. And each chapter in this book is on a book. China's desire global domination. It goes, from East Turkestan, from the Fargana Valley. If to go to west, there is a Muslim, and if they done with us, they go, in Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Central Asia. Right now, they plan in Afghanistan, and you know what's happening in Pakistan right now with the investment and all security and the military apparatus in the Chinese, almost Chinese hand. And yes, and that was my attention to bring this issue and share our perspective. And this is happened before in an Islamic country, when we deal with the crisis and then the coming from West, and in our history, and came Chinggis Khan, as you know, and destroyed our wisdom and the literature, all what we know as a Muslim in Central Asia, in Baghdad. And from that day on, we are behind the West because we lost our knowledge. And we were, as a Muslim country, never prepared the danger come from East. Today, happening the same issue. But the next colonization is coming not with the gun, with the tanks, with the aircraft. This comes with the digital colonization.
Yeah.
And you know better than me, if the China right now are building their server in Egypt, in the Turkey, and one scholar maybe invented some new issue in Egypt, and they save in his file in the computer, the Beijing will get.
Allahu Akbar. And there's something I want everybody to know at the beginning of the book, that Sheikh Abdulhakim, what he does is that he actually has an interesting quotation about the Mongols and the impact of the Mongols, and then the impact of the Chinese Communist Party, and how that it's the same thing, it's just in a different way. Now, the other thing which I just wanted to add, and I think this is for the viewers who are really interested in this topic, that the link is actually going to be in the comment section for you guys to actually download this book, read this book. I've left a review myself. Everybody should read it, review it, get a Kindle version. The thing which is important, and what our brother Abdulhakim is saying, is it's not just an ethnic issue. This is very important. The first thing to realize is if we look at West Turkestan, Kazakhstan, and the Tajikistan and these places, China has taken Kazakh citizens and put them in the camps as well. So it's not an Uyghur issue alone. Secondly, in northern Pakistan, the Pakistani nationals have married some Uyghur women, and those women have been detained, and the Pakistani government has been quiet. You can go to Vice News and you will see that the Pakistan nation is built upon Islam. They say it's Islam, it's an Islamic republic, and we have Uyghurs who are being harassed and actually being beaten and being threatened to be sent back. So how can Muslims escaping persecution be free when they enter a country and then that country is forced by dealings with China to basically act like Chinese proxies, right? To basically do this. So what we're going to understand is reading this book. This isn't hypothetical. This isn't, some abstract ideas. These are real issues for which we have concrete evidence. And the only thing that's happening right now is the Uyghur Muslims, if you imagine, are the people who are coming and telling the Muslims Genghis Khan and his army are coming. Okay. And unless we take their warnings seriously, it'll be too late. I'll give you something, brother Abdulhakim, that maybe you're aware of, maybe you're not, because this thing is quite interesting. You see, in Pakistan, if you say something to the police, right, they can just take out a stick and beat you. Okay, the police don't have the same laws and things that they have in the Western world. There's not the same rights that people have. And even if you look at them badly, you can get into issues. Other places, the police officers are maybe nicer. But generally, you don't disrespect the police, right? I'm not saying they're evil. I'm just saying don't disrespect the police. In Pakistan, when some Chinese nationals were in Pakistan and they got into an argument with the police, they stood up on top of the police car and they were shouting at the police. And Allahu Akbar, this does not happen in Pakistan. If you go and touch a police officer, if you kick their car, forget standing on top of the car, you're going to get beaten. They already act like they are our masters. This is very important for any Pakistanis watching. They already think they own us. And the colonization of the Muslim world, which happened in the 17th and 18th century, which is over, it's now coming through, as Brother Abdul Hakim said, through digital totalitarian tactics. It's not coming through tanks and bullets and cannons. And if you want to see the evidence for it, make sure you download the book. So, Brother Abdul Hakim, my next question to you is, when it comes to this particular issue, we want people to take action. We don't want people to sit there and just make noise. We can wear the Uyghur hat, we can learn, a little bit of the language, we can share stuff on social media, we can contact our politicians, but this is a small part of what needs to be done. What is, for you, the most important thing that activists across the world should be doing right now?
Yeah, thank you for this question, brother. This is, and it's the what we call, in our religion, first ibadah, ibadah al fard. Because what Chinese communist atheist government doing in Turkestan, openly burn a copy of Qurans, destroying mosques, demolishing cemeteries, and taking the boys and the kids to the atheist school, and bringing the Muslim girls with the atheist Chinese hand to marry them, forcing them. That's the active wars against Muslim. What's happening in Turkestan right now? This is a between Muslim and what we call is atheist communist government going on in Turkestan. So my please on everybody, Muslim or everybody standing up for freedom and humanity, should see this issue like its own issue. It's not about Uyghur issue. What's going on in Turkestan is not because we are Uyghur, no, because we are human beings, because we are not Chinese, because we are Muslim, because we are own this land, because we are Uyghur people know how the Chinese communist government doing on another Muslim.
Yes.
If they don't get rid of us, we will always tell our brother and the Muslim and sister, warning them, because we are dealing with them thousand years. We have the experience how to deal with the Chinese. Yes. And that the world had chance to listen to Uyghur people, to how to deal with this communist, this communist monster. And this is everybody's issue. If you, for example, I know Pakistan. I love Pakistani people. I love Egypt. I lived in Egypt in a poor neighborhood. I had friends with them, you know. That many people in those Islamic countries doesn't know what's happening to Uyghur people because the media in those countries, 99% controlled by corrupt government, and they sold themselves to CCP for the money. And there's another 1% maybe business owned. Those business people have to business deal with China. There's a no free media in Islamic country. That's the tragic issue. So everybody know this the tragedy. What's happening to Uyghur people had to do something. You know, inform another Muslim brother. Take action. This is your responsibility. If
Yes.
you don't know about Uyghur issue, okay, maybe Allah, says you didn't know it. But if you know what's happening there, and you don't do nothing, it's not enough. Make a 5 times salah, and then make a Ramadan, and you didn't stand up for Kalimatullah, Allah's word. That's the issue, and I hope and for the Western country, for the people or liberal or leftist people, they're talking about human rights, environment, animal rights, this and this. See what's happening in Turkestan. If the China dominate the world, and how will the world look like? You can see it right now in Turkestan. They want to control, your life, your past, your present, your future, even your dream, even your, how you're happy or not happy with the cameras, with the apps. And that's what's happening. And it's a big burden for everybody. And I hope, and this book give a little bit background, why it's happening, why happening right now in the Uyghur people. After this, what I coming to another Muslim country, we are researching, what's happened in Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, India. There's a lot of Muslim in Pakistan. If you see this Kashmir issue, Afghanistan issue, Turkestan issue, there's almost no peace there. A long time, and it's the Uyghurs are not like a forgotten people. It's a crucial part of Islamic world. The free world in Islamic world, if they could demand and protect those Uyghur and the Kazakh Kyrgyz Muslim, they will succeed. If they let them go, they will come down. Look, what's happened in Myanmar. The Chinese CCP, when they took the Biden administration, here in the US, China says, okay, you want to deal with me? Deal with the Myanmar. If you want to deal with me, you have to deal with North Korea. Next time, they will answer. Because the Chinese invented this new authoritarian colonial system.
Yes.
And brother Ahmed, for example, one sentence I want to say here: forced labor. We are talking from forced labor. It's slavery.
Yeah.
It's slavery. Right now, look, the Chinese communist regime building a Teda industrial park in Egypt, near from Suez Canal. They producing there many products, exporting to Africa and Middle East, even the Europe, because they producing there and writing there made in Egypt. Those fabrics right now working, young and the girl, Muslim brother and sister from Egypt. Today they get paid. Imagine.
Yeah.
3 days later, those Chinese come to the military government there in Egypt, say, okay, I will the money. Why don't they bring the people from the jail? They work for free. They can bring them. They work for free. If that's not enough, they will make a law, bring more people in the jail, bring them the poor. It's not what's happening is Turkestan. That's staying what is Turkestan. We can see it in Africa. So this everybody's responsibility about before I'm here following a lot of studies in America. There's many think tanks, centers. They publishing books about China's domination in military, space, finance, and everything. But in Muslim country, there is no research, no book or reports about Chinese danger. But I guarantee you, before the China attack the West, they will attack the Muslim country, because we are so weak. The Muslim country, if you talk about the Muslim country, the biggest threat for the Muslim ruler, who? From own people. They have problem from own people. And this is very attractive for the Chinese. Chinese can, quickly collaborate with the ruler there and bring this tragedy to those people. So, as the individual, every Muslim around the world, if you have to be good in this world, bring the peace, protect the environment, protecting the animal, and be merciful to everybody, and live with honor. We have the obligation. To work on this issue. It's the copy of Quran that doesn't belong only to Uyghurs. If Chinese Communist Party burn the copy of Qurans, it's not just Uyghur responsibility to stop them. It's responsibility everybody's. If the Chinese, turning the mosque to bar, to dance clubs, it's Allah's house. Masjid are Allah's house. It's not Uyghurs' problem, It's everybody's problem. Every Muslim's problem.
Absolutely, and they are the enemies of Islam. This is very important to understand. And I think everybody watching, this is something I've said previously, and I'm going to say again, but it's very important. If we look at the Rohingya issue, the Palestine issue, the issue of Muslims in Syria or in Central African Republic, Yemen, wherever they are, I can guarantee you something. The Muslims in all of those places are not going through what's happening to the Uyghur Muslims. And I'll tell you why. Because if we look at the intention, of the Chinese Communist Party, is very different to the intention of, say, the Syrian government. The Syrian government doesn't want to destroy Islam. The Syrian government wants power. It will do anything. It will work with anybody. It just wants to remain in power. It pretends to be Muslim. It pretends it's there for Islam. Likewise, when we look at the various things happening in the Muslim world, even if we take the Israel-Palestinian conflict, that particular conflict is something in which the Palestinians, if they're killed, they go back to their homes with their families. Their children aren't taken away and turned into atheists. Their women aren't stolen and raped and sterilized and married off to Han Chinese. Israel will not take the copies of the Quran and burn them like the Chinese Communist Party will. Something very important is let's not muddle up issues here. The fact is, all of these issues that are happening in the Muslim world are all important. But right at the top is the Uyghur issue, because this is not about land alone or other things alone. Their pure intention is to completely destroy Islam. The people that I have interviewed, and I'm sure Abdulhakim can tell you more about this, who've come out of the concentration camps, they say the first thing that they do is get them to say that Allah doesn't exist. That's the first thing that they teach them. So this is a state which has declared war on Islam. And something I want everybody to understand: when we criticize the Chinese Communist Party for what it's doing to our Uyghur brothers and sisters, their reply is, oh, the West invaded Iraq, or the West did Afghanistan. Let's understand something. The Western world did not have the intention of declaring war on Islam. There are other geopolitical factors, such as Iraq being the oil factor, why this happened. However, in Iraq, the Iraqis never for a minute thought they're here to destroy Islam. Even they realized this is about something else. So any issues that the Muslims have had with the Western world, we have to understand that we cannot let those issues get in the way of us working with the West to help the Uyghur Muslims, because at the end of the day, there is so much more commonality between the Muslim world and the Western world than there is with the Chinese Communist Party. Look at, for example, something happens in Iraq or Afghanistan or Palestine, and you have Western people standing up for the rights of Muslims. If anything happens, what happens when the Chinese Communist Party is oppressing the Uyghurs? Are the Chinese Han students and activists in Beijing lifting up placards defending the Uyghurs? No. So the fact is, we have to understand the threat of the Chinese Communist Party against Islam is the number one priority. And any historical issues that have happened in the past, we cannot let them get in the way of defending our Uyghur brothers and sisters. And the most important thing to keep in mind, is something that Sister Roshan Abbas, I heard her say I think a few years back when she was having an interview, is that East Turkestan is Islam's eastern fortress. And if that fortress, if that dam, if that huge area, which is 1/6 of China, is subjugated, then just like, I'm not saying they are, but just like Yajuj Majuj, you hear the stories of them flooding through. I'm not saying they are Yajuj Majuj, but the same analogy, they will flood through West Turkestan, they will flood through Pakistan, they will flood through the Middle East, and they will do exactly what they're doing to the Uyghur people, to the Muslims all across the world. They will burn the Qur'ans, they will sterilize Muslims, they will rape them, and they will make sure that we give up our belief in Allah. So we need to understand something. We don't have a problem with the Chinese Communist Party. They have a problem with Islam, and they started this. We didn't start this. They started this. This didn't start in 2017. This didn't start in the Urumqi riots or the Baron Square massacre. This started from the time of the Manchu Empire and them taking over East Turkestan some over 100 years ago. So we have to understand this issue is something which goes back to the era of colonization. And it's the only part of the Muslim world which is still colonized, because West Turkestan was colonized by the Soviets, but now it's free. East Turkestan is the only part of the Muslim world which is still colonized from the 19th century. So everybody that's watching, I want you guys to realize the threat of the Chinese Communist Party for those who subscribe to La ilaha illallah is no less than the threat of the Mongols and what they did to the Abbasid Empire. And we also need to understand something. And Abdulhakim, brother, this is so beautiful when I learned this. When did the Uyghur people accept Islam? They accepted Islam in the 10th century with Sultan Satuk Burga Khan. And he accepted Islam. The Uyghurs accepted Islam. The Uyghurs evangelized. They did dawah to the other Turkic groups. So the Seljuk and the Ottomans and the people who spread Islam east and west, it goes back to originally the first Turkic people to become Muslim, which is the Uyghur people. At the Battle of Talis, we had the Muslims fighting against the Chinese, and even then the Turkic people helped the Muslims, and this goes back over 1,000 years. So we need to understand something. Our historical fight with the Chinese Communist Party is not something that we started, but the Quran and Islam gives us the right to, on the minimum, unite, stand shoulder to shoulder, and say to the Chinese Communist Party, if you want to fight against the Uyghur people, then you're going to fight every single Muslim, mother, father, child, soldier, civilian, scholar, whoever they are. You are declaring war on everybody who says La ilaha illallah. And I'm from Pakistan originally, and I can tell you this, yeah. Once the Pakistani people find out that the Chinese Communist Party has been blaspheming against Islam, they depicted this disgusting looking picture, and they said this is the Prophet, and they put this on their TV. You can go to my YouTube channel. I made a video about this. They've desecrated the Quran. They've burnt the Quran. Uyghurs are putting the Quran in the river so it's not destroyed. So what we need to understand is, when Charlie Hebdo does something and the Muslim world rises up, why shouldn't the Muslim world rise up when they blaspheme against our prophet, against our religion, and they are declaring a war on us, are we supposed to stay quiet? So everybody watching, please read the book. Please support the Uyghurs. Understand this is an existential issue for the survival of the Muslim world. This is not just as an issue of Muslims being oppressed in an area. Muslims being oppressed in an area, we should help them. This is about the survival of the Muslim world. And we know that if we don't speak up today, then nobody will speak up for us tomorrow. May Allah bless you, Brother Abdulhakim. I really enjoyed this discussion. Before you go, I want you to give your message about where people can find more information to get involved. You can tell them a little bit about Campaign for Uyghurs, or, for example, the upcoming Uyghur tribunal. Whatever you want to, inshallah, push out, we are here to support you.
Thank you, brother. Jazakallah khairan. You very, summarized what in this book is. Very good. I'm very happy. Before I go the details what will have the Uyghur Tribunal in London, I will mention one science. If a big company in the US or big media company or the NBA or the Hollywood or the Bollywood scared of CCP and censoring themselves, and if the Muslim country, as you says, cannot say to China, if the China says we will make this Islamic religion comfortable with atheist communism and burning the Quran, and cannot say stop it or don't do it, what's mean? It's already China's influence, how big is in the West, in the Islamic country. This is the sign of China's invisible colonization.
Yes.
If it's today, if today, so big attack, and if the China, in Chinese media can say Islam is disease, we have to eradicate them, we have eliminated them, and if they attack those issues, no Muslim country, no Islamic parties or Jamaat, come out and say it's not true or stop it. Imagine what will happen in next 10 and 15 years. It's the danger. It's the menace. To know in detail those issues, you can, as you said, find this book in Amazon. In the US, you can have a both Kindle and a hard cover copy. But in the worldwide, you can have the Kindle version. And inshallah, the brother Sabur Ahmed will distribute it in the UK in the future. This book, you can contact with him if you are in UK. Inshallah, we will bring this book into you and have some knowledge about this issue, particularly this China's intention to destroy the Islam and the Muslim people there. And as you mentioned, if the Chinese succeed with the total eradication of the East Turkestani people, they can, conquer the Central Asia. If they conquer the Central Asia, they will take over the Middle East. It's done. It's very, very big danger. And I'm not, doing this a big. You have the chance. Just go online. Go after those issues. Check one by one by. In this book, you give you detailed sources where you can go, how to get more information. And as a Center for Uyghur Studies, the newly established organization in the DC, we are concretely working to inform our Muslim brother and sister around the world about this issue. We will make a lot of reports in Arabic, Russian, English, what from the perspective of Islamic perspective. The Center for Uyghur Studies doing this, and the Campaign for Uyghurs doing a very wonderful job for the advocating for Uyghur issue. And 4th June, from 4th June to 7th June, will be a Uyghur tribunal in London. The World Uyghur Congress, almost 40 years working on this issue with the independent judges, bringing the witness documentation, and will be had the first hearing in London for this Uyghur tribunal. It's not somebody says on the road in the newspaper. It's real people that witnessed life in the blood, and you can see it, and everybody can support World Uyghur Congress, and then in the website there is a donation pages like this, and we will inshallah be in London next week for the event. I will meet you and another brother Muslim. If anybody has any question, I will be allowed to discuss with you brothers, inshallah.
Inshallah, Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you and your family and make everything easy for you. And there is something which I just wanted to end upon, something which, subhanallah, is worth us really reflecting about. And this is something which you wrote to your mother as a letter. And essentially, you summarized it in the following way, that you are doing what you're doing so that the call of azan, the call of la ilaha illallah, can be heard in the ancient land of Turkestan. That's what's at stake. So may Allah bless you. May Allah make everything easy for you and your family. I hope to see you next week as well. For everybody watching, make sure you download this book and tell your friends and family about it. Importantly, leave a review so this gets higher and higher. And consider it a sadaqah jariyah if you buy the book and you give it to your friends and family, because this is nothing less than the way we need to think about it is the Prophet ﷺ taught us a Muslim does not abandon another Muslim. A Muslim does not hand over a Muslim to his enemy. So what we need to do is we need to realize already the Muslim world has failed the Uyghurs, but let's not fail further. We've already failed them, but let's not fail further. Let's take a stand and let's understand this is their war against us. And if they're going to declare a war on the Uyghurs, then we know that they've declared a war upon the religion of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah bless everybody for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.